Welcome back to Refuge and Fortress TV. My name is Emmanuel O.
And I'm Loni O.
And on today's segment of Lighter Living, we're going to be talking about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is, when is communication not the answer? Coming up now.
When is communication not the answer?
Right. So, a lot of times people think communication is the key to a successful relationship.
Communication is the key to
Which it is. Which we're not, listen, we're not saying it's not. It really is,
it's
though. Communication
important.
is everything in a successful relationship.
Yes.
But, there's just some times that,
it's not needed.
I'm not feeling it. Like, talking is not what I need right now. I don't want to communicate anything. Like, right? So there are some times.
Even if I want to communicate.
Even if there are some times that communication is just not the answer, right?
Okay.
So, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, the first, in our opinion, rather, right? So, there are multiple times that we believe in everybody's relationship. You have the opportunity to, you know you more than we know you. You know what I mean?
you.
But we're just saying, for us, this is like the top three things, top three times that communication is just not what we needed at that time. No. The first one is
the heat of the moment.
My Lord.
What do we mean by that? In the heat of the moment.
Yes.
So when you guys are just kind of like throwing it at each other, you kind of just and you weaving, you like when you're in a really heated argument and you're going back and forth, that time, honestly, it's not the best time to communicate. Most especially because in trying to communicate both of your perspective, sometimes you can say things you can't take back.
Right. You might even end up making it worse.
Things, right. Sometimes it could escalate the matter. So when it gets really, really heated, because we're human beings, sometimes, we have situations where we go back and forth. When it gets heated, it's best to just walk away.
Yeah.
It's best to just stop. Just don't bother.
Yeah, especially as a man, the first thing is like, for me, whenever it gets heated like that and it's starting to look like it's going left, I just stop talking. And if I can, I walk away. If I can, I'll take a drive or something like that. But I know that at that time, there's no amount of communication that you're having that's gonna get through. Yeah. Because it's in the heat of the moment.
It's heat. It's hot.
It's hot right now.
It's hot.
You know what I'm saying? You can always come back.
You can come back
when everything kind of settles down.
That's the best thing to do.
You know what I'm saying?
Then
say what I was trying to say was
because in trying to I just want to you want to communicate, you want to talk, you gotta talk it out.
But you gotta hear me out though.
Right, but in that heat.
But I don't though.
In that heat, nobody hearing nobody out. Everybody just saying whatever they want to say.
Yeah. So in the heat of the moment, it's not communication at that time. It's not the answer.
What's that emoji? Is it this? It does. There's an emoji that does this. So no.
The second time when communication is not the answer is when you need space to process or to gather your thoughts or to be
when you need to be able to
articulate
yourself.
Right, or you just need space to be, so it's again, when we were talking about this, we were saying, well, space is not good. I don't want to give you space.
Well, yeah, because technically, when you're in a relationship or a marriage, you're in a relationship. There should never be a time where I'm gonna leave the house for you, or I'm just gonna go about my own thing. Because you don't wanna leave room for the devil to creep in. You don't wanna do that. But there's some times where sometimes talking is not needed. Sometimes it's not a matter of communicating. It's not a matter of trying to, say something or talk about something. Sometimes the quietness is needed. Sometimes the space is needed. Right. Sometimes it's a personal thing for that person. I remember when I I never have moments like this where I need space. But there was a time where I just kind of needed to just kind of be to myself, because we're always together, literally. So that time I really needed to just kind of be to myself. It wasn't anything. It wasn't even about him. It was just a me thing, and there was nothing to really talk about because I knew there was nothing wrong. I just needed
space.
that time to just kind of just be in my own little world.
Right.
And sometimes it's needed.
Yeah, I give an example. So let's say, for example, a lady, right? So she's trying to be a nurse, right? So she's trying to study for a nursing, or trying to be a registered nurse, right? And they have this exam that they take, NCLEX or something like that. Something like that. They have an exam that they take, and let's say, for example, she studied very hard and everything like that, and then she failed by 1 point. So it's not like she didn't know what she needed to know. She just missed that one question, and she got that fail score, right? So you can imagine her getting on the phone with her husband and saying, "Hey, babe, I just left. I didn't get it. I didn't get it." That situation is a sucky situation. Nobody ever wants to be in that position, but in that situation, she already told you what the issue is. Right. So if she comes home and she's kind of just quiet and she's like a little down and she's like just needs time to process what just happened, trying to communicate may not necessarily be the best answer.
Right, because there's not really much to communicate.
I think in that moment, she probably just needs somebody to say, "Listen, here, ice cream. Here, let's watch a movie together. Here, let me hug you. Here, but let's just be in the moment, You have to also understand your lady.
And we say that because sometimes people misread certain situations. Like, okay, you didn't do so well. Let's just study and make sure you do better, right? That's just, the next thing that should come up, right? But sometimes some people are like, okay, we get it. It wasn't that great. You're not the first person to... Don't never say that. You're not the first person to not pass an exam. So to say. But, because sometimes...
That can make it worse.
No, because sometimes some people think they're helping. Right? They think they're not intentionally trying to hurt the person.
Right.
They're trying to help, and in trying to help,
they want
to literally pull that person out of that funk. But sometimes you just need to let that person go on their own pace. They will come out of it.
Yeah.
So in situations like that, when space is just needed, and when we say space, I mean like you could go to your living room and just stay there, and I could be in the room. But like at nighttime, we better come to the same room and come to the same bed. I don't need space like you leave the house, and but space like just kind of just be in your own world. I could sit next to you and you could just be there or whatever. But there's nothing to really communicate in that moment. So trying to force one could lead to something else.
And also, still on that same topic, when we say that space to articulate yourself, right? So there might be times where you want to say something, you want to get something across to your partner or to your friend or anyone, right? So we're talking about when communication is not the answer in a relationship, in a marriage, a friendship, a courtship, whatever, right? So you may be wanting to like get a point across, but you know that because of how you're feeling right now, or because of whatever the situation may be, or even like sometimes when you're texting, right? Have you ever had that when you're texting something and you mean no harm at all, but the person reading it is like, "Oh, did she just say that to me?"
It becomes harmful.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, "Oh, did they? Oh, no." And then you get on the phone, you're hot and you're yelling, and the person is like, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I was just saying." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So sometimes you kind of want to. Sometimes people take space to give themselves time to articulate properly what they're trying to say. I've done that. I've done that a lot. I've had a friend where we're just clashing, right? It's not really clicking whatever we're saying. We're sending text messages back and forth, and it's like it's just not clicking. Right. You know what I'm saying? So what did I do? I stepped back a little bit, right? I stopped sending the text messages. I would stop calling and everything like that. So a week went by. We didn't really say anything. We didn't really talk about that topic. you know, and then 2 weeks went by, still didn't say anything, but we were talking about other things like, oh, hey, how you doing? How's everything? You know, or did you see that movie? Or did you see this person? Did you see that game? Whatever like that. Like on that friendship level, we were still talking about that, but I still needed time to be able to put my thoughts together and articulate what it is that I'm trying to say. So it's not misunderstood. So that space was much needed.
Yes.
And finally, for us, the third the third time rather that
communication is not the answer.
Right, when communication is just not the answer.
It's really when you show more than you tell.
Right.
Because sometimes
when action speaks louder than words.
You because hear me? Sometimes you're communicating and you're saying one thing, but your action doesn't match. At that point, it's not about communicating. Stop. Communication is not the answer. It's more about your actions.
It's like somebody who's always apologizing. Baby, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to do that no more. It would never happen again. But then you do it again. You do it again. At that point, it gets to a point where she just stops. He or she just stops listening to whatever it is that you're saying, but your action begins to show that, you know what, you really mean what you're trying to communicate. Yeah. So sometimes talking is not the answer.
It's not the answer.
Action speaks louder than words.
Speaks louder than words. Absolutely.
Top three times when
communication is not the answer. Number one is the heat of the moment. When it's hot, when you guys are kind of going headbutting, you're going.
It's just not clicking.
It's not clicking. Just take some space and just kind of
walk away from it all.
Down, let everything get ice, let everything get cold, then come back and talk about it. Number two is when you just need that space, when you're not able to articulate yourself, you know, when you need time to process certain things, and sometimes you just need to just kind of be in your own little world, something personal and stuff like that. So that in that moment, it's okay to just put aside the communication and just let it be. You could always come back and talk. It doesn't go anywhere. You could always come back and talk and speak to each other. But sometimes you just need the space. Sometimes you just need time to figure out how to articulate.
Talking is not the answer at that point.
You know what I'm saying? And the third one, the last one, is when you need to show more than you tell.
When actions speak louder than words. Yes. Absolutely. So, and those are just our top three for us personally. If you have other times that you feel like are great times where zip it is better than yappy, you know what I'm saying? Definitely put it down in the comment section below. And
So you got some actions over there.
You know what I'm saying? You know, so put it down in the comment section below and let us know, man. We're actually curious to know what are the, because we talk a lot. Contrary to everything we just said, we actually communicate a lot. You know what I'm saying? On a daily basis, right?
A lot.
On a daily basis, but you know, I want to believe it's one of the strongest. What do they call it? Strong suits. It's one of the strongest suits of our relationship. That's why we've been together 10 years, so we kind of know what we're talking about. Just a little bit. But hey, man, listen. Be the light.
Be the salt.
And remember, all things are possible